Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 knockdown rule is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Cinco de Mario Lopez.
Hey, back to the bomb monikers
and
right
you will
there.
be there this weekend.
I am going to be there celebrating Cinco de Mario. And, of course, give it up for our little mariachi on the ones and two, Justin Buffalo Knuckles.
What's up, guys?
And what a busy show that we have this week in the focus of the boxing world this
The wig is
Saturday.
looking good, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. Got to cut. It's all
got-
ready for Vegas.
it's
And
ready
the paint
for-
job, Earl Scheib.
Yeah, you got old Scheib and the Kim Jong-un lack of signboard.
And
but
right
whatever.
now, I am Jet Black Lee. All right, so
It's a
anyway.
Big weekend.
May 4th, T-Mobile Arena. We are in the zone. The middleweight championship is on the line. The IBF, WBA, and WBC belts are on the table. And Canelo Alvarez takes on Danny Jacobs. Mario, I believe this is one of the premier matchups on the boxing calendar. Two of the very elite blue-chip middleweights in the world. But I'm going to lay it right on the table. I think Jacobs is very good, but I think Alvarez is elite. I don't care what anyone thinks of the past decisions, any of the past controversies, but in terms of honing his skills and being at the physical apex and coming into his own as a complete prize fighter, Canelo, to me, is at the upper echelon.
Absolutely agree with you. When we were discussing just last week the mythical pound-for-pound list, I think we both had, or I might have had him a little higher, like maybe number 3, 4, but I think he's on the Mount Rushmore. I really do. And you know I'm a huge Canelo fan, just aside from the fighter, the way he carries himself and continues to work hard, and to me looks like he improves every fight with his defense, his punching combination. And listen, the people that are crying foul and controversial calls, we're talking about fights that were very, very close with Triple G, not where he was getting his ass whooped, and how can you give that to him? Very, very close calls. Yes, I do agree that I thought Triple G should have maybe got the nod in the first one, but we're talking like a 115, 113 sort of nod, and then the second one I thought could have either been a draw, but if I had to lean towards anyone, it was Canelo. So it's not like he's been at the end of these dubious decisions where it's, oh my God, how can you see it go that way? I think Jacobs, however, is his biggest threat to date outside of Triple G, merely because he's another guy who's a young, strong kid who's just off of his size. I don't know how he squeezes himself down to 160, but he's tall, he's long, he can box, and if he's not depleted, and according to Eddie Hearn from last week, who feels he can even knock him out, and of course he's a promoter, we know he has to say that, I think he could pose a lot of problems in a Arislandi Lara type way with his footwork and his boxing acumen to maybe befuddle Canelo for a while. I think Canelo has gotten better at cutting off the ring and will eventually get to him. And I think after he touches him to the body a couple of those times, it maybe sneaks up with that right hand that he usually finds, that he does find and will come over the top with it. Then I think it's bad news for Jacobs. The irony is I think Jacobs feels, or he should at least, that he does have to plant those feet in exchange with him if he wants to win this fight. He's been out there saying that he wants to make sure the judges are going to be honest, and if they're going to judge it fairly, he's already coming with this from this negative place. But if he wants to really make a stand and win it the good old-fashioned way by exchanging blows back and forth, he's going to have to exchange, and I think that's not going to bode well for him because I think Canelo is the consummate counterpuncher in this regard. Snappy, precise, hits hard. I predict it's hard to predict. I predict a Canelo victory, okay? But I'm hesitating with the knockout because I got to see how much Jacobs is going to stand and willing to exchange. But I think it's a very competitive, good fight.
The 3 men on the spot, and you talked about the judges, Dave Moretti, Glenn Feldman, and Steve Weisfeld. Last week in studio, Eddie Hearn said, hey, we like those guys.
Yeah.
We trust those guys. We've gotten 3 of the best judges in the world. And the word that you use, to me, is the key. I'm with you. Danny Jacobs is a superior, bigger athlete. Maybe faster foot, but precision. Mm-hmm. When you look at what technique really is, One thing about Canelo, and I've seen a lot of his training
He
video.
is accurate as
Not only that,
yes.
yeah, you're right, an upper body movement.
Right.
He's become one of the really elusive fighters, and this
Right.
goes back to the Austin Trout fight way back in 2013. I was ringside at the Alamo Dome.
Right. I
Against
was
a
too.
really
I happened to be at that fight.
Slick, athletic, black American fighter. He was slipping and sliding and dodging on the ropes. I was like, wow. I was like, I didn't know that kid could do that, and it's only gotten better.
It was James Tony-esque, and I'll tell you another one that really impressed me in the same vein with his counter punches and his slipping and bobbing and weaving was when he fought Miguel Cotto.
Yeah.
Same way. I was like, oh, look at he just slipped that, came up with that big
That's where
uppercut.
the stereotype overrides the actual reality.
Right.
Because a lot of people think of Mexicans as hit and be hit, Mexican
No,
style.
he's never been that guy.
But look, you look at Canelo. This is a kid at age 28. I think he's at his absolute peak. And you look at Jacobs. You call him young, but he's really 32. And here's the other thing. Post-Golovkin, where he fought a very good fight strategically in losing against Louis Arias, Maciej Saluki, and then Sergey Derevchenko, I don't know he's been that dominant. In fact, to me, I think it's a slow, kind of steady decline. And now there's a hydration clause, which I believe was a key strategic move by Golden Boy and Canelo, so that he doesn't come in much closer to being a cruiserweight than maybe a light heavyweight. I do believe that will be a factor. Now, the promoter of this event is the head of Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, and this is what he had to say about his #1 client and his overall development.
Look, I've seen Canelo train many times, preparing for this fight. He's only getting better. It's crazy. It's mind-boggling that, yeah, he's young, but he's getting better. I mean, his punches are getting stronger. His speed is like phenomenal. But what I really love about him is that his footwork is just getting it's getting better. He's getting better. I have no doubt in my mind, okay, that Jacobs is going to be difficult for Canelo the first few rounds. But once he starts stalking him, once he starts trading punches,
those body shots start landing.
Because once the body shots start landing, once Jacobs starts getting brave, because this is what I love about Jacobs. Jacobs starts getting brave. He can throw those punches, those combinations. He's fast, his footwork, but he's too brave for his own good. Meaning, like, he likes trading punches when it's like, remember we fought Golovkin, Triple G, and he started trading punches, and he's like, kind of like, okay, what else do you have? It's
right.
So he gets brave.
Yeah, that gets dangerous though.
Oh, it gets dangerous, especially with Canelo. Yeah. I have Canelo knocking out Jacobs like in the 9th, 10th, 11th round.
Ooh, I like that. I like that prediction. That's going to be great.
Yeah. But this is going to be one of those fights where a lot of action. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. Canelo said it over and over. It's going to be a difficult fight because of Jacob's style.
And Mario, that was your conversation with him, to listen to Mario, which will be released later this week, and we'll get into more of that conversation later. But I'm with Oscar. I mean, look, there's a lot of times when a fighter makes it to the mountaintop, he gets complacent, he gets stale, motivation lacks. I get the sense with Canelo, he understands, I got a gift. I got an exalted position, and I understand the responsibility of being the face of boxing. That's probably what I really respect about him the most.
I've always said that. That's probably his most admirable quality in my eyes, is that he has been so mature in the way he's handled his fame, his money, the position he's in.
Not everyone can handle prosperity.
Not everyone can handle, and he's prospered once he achieved that level, which is, for a very young guy, is very, very impressive. You look at the other young guys in the sport, even your Errol Spences, and they are not at the. First of all, I don't even think they're at the boxing level, number one.
Or box office.
But definitely not the box office. Definitely not with pay-per-view events. Definitely not with a resume.
Yeah.
Like, he's accomplished a lot for a young guy. And other guys, if you're comparing him to his contemporaries, there is no comparison.
Yeah.
So I think Canelo will have a great showing. I think it is a really good fight. Who knows if Jacobs comes and fights the fight of his life and lays it all on the line and goes for broke, could make for a very interesting, fun night.
In my view, distance and spacing is going to be key. If this fight is fought inside the pocket where they're pretty close to each other.
Bad news for
In my
Jacobs.
view, like you said, Canelo's become a real sharpshooter. He's the more
Yes.
accurate guy. One thing I've noticed about
Short,
Jacobs,
crisp, hard
right,
combos.
and Danny
Yes.
Jacobs, when he lets his hands go, as the fight goes further and further into the late rounds, his technique starts to get a little bit wider,
Yes.
a little bit looser. He will leave openings for
Good
Canelo.
observation.
And I think, there is a possibility, in my view, that Canelo could score a late knockout, maybe with the body shots, but I do think he does, one way or the other, win this fight. On this undercard, Golden Boy's best pure prospect, Virgil Ortiz, takes on Mauricio Herrera, and Joseph Jojo Diaz comes back against Freddie Fonseca. Moving on to our next segment. This past Friday night at the Forum, we were inside the zone. And Mario, can I just give a slow 80s clap? I mean, what a card. I call that
Hell of a card. Hell of a card.
You know what I call it? FedEx.
They
'Cause
delivered.
It delivered.
Yep.
And quickly. And what a card. And the main event.
It's good look for DAZN.
Yes, Juan Francisco Estrada with a tough 12-round decision over Secretsetso Rungvisai, or as Marvin Hagler once, for some reason, against Ray Leonard, came out right-handed. Rungvisai, for most of that fight, who's been a very effective left-handed puncher, Mario, to this day, or night, or minute, I don't understand what was Rungvisai doing in the orthodox stance.
I don't understand. That blew me away. That's not the time or place to try new stuff. And from that point, I was like, oh my God, this is not the fight that I wanted to see, because I so wanted to see the rematch when they're both obviously at their best, well prepared. But I don't know if he thought he was trying to trick him. The strategy, I blame the corner for that, but credit to Estrada, who after a tough loss, as you know, many guys can sort of just fold and mentally not be able to come back. But the fact that he was able to stick to a very smart game plan, had the answers for everything that Rungvisai threw at him, and was just psychologically tough enough and physically tough enough to pull off a hell of a fight. I mean, all credit to him. That's what real champions are made of, much like how Barrera, now what he didn't suffer a awful defeat on the hands of Junior Jones, but that says a lot about the individual. So he showed me a lot just off of his character.
Yeah, and sort of Rungvisai, to his credit, though, still closed very hard.
No, it was a close fight. Good fight. And I actually thought he might, but that's not the guy who came out.
Yeah. Doug Fisher had the best nickname. He called him Marvelous Marv Rungvisai. The only difference is Marvelous Marvin Hagler in the third round went back to southpaw.
Right.
Now, in my view, I thought Rungvisai won a close fight in the first fight. Rematch, I thought Estrada won a close fight. We deserve Chapter 3. We need to see this.
Do you think he goes back to his old ways and game plan? I don't know what that was.
Square pegs don't die round. If you're left-handed, be left-handed. There's only one Terrence Crawford. My understanding is Rungvisai may have had a shoulder injury.
Oh, well, then
that is a factor.
Oh, well, then that's different.
But one of the reasons why I shaded Estrada last week in the rematch, Rungvisai in his last fight looked a little bit weathered. And remember, these Thai guys come in with Thai fighting backgrounds. They begin at age 6, and they have hundreds of fights. They're very active, and there's a physical erosion.
Who knows if he had a little Muay Thai in there, took a couple of elbows and knees prior to that'll slow you down.
So it is certainly, but Estrada, if you do these pound-for-pound lists, look, I don't know where he is, but in my view, you look at his overall resume, unifying titles at 112, battling Roman Gonzalez very hard, now beating the recognized champion at 115. This is certainly one of the very best fighters in the world today, pound for pound.
He's a technician. He's a technician in there. The guy can box his ass off. And so I was happy for him. Yes, but I would love to see a round 3 or a trilogy.
And the Roman Empire keeps building. Danny Roman adds the IBF title to his belt with a tough 12-round gut check over the Gutty. TJ Downey, your scores 116, 110 twice, and 113, 113. Look, Roman's one of my favorite fighters because he's not one of these guys where one thing stands out. Like, if you list him on a scale of 1 to 10, no 9s and 10s, but in every category outside of maybe power, he's a 7 or 8, and boy, he knows just how to fight.
He reminds me a lot of Jose Ramirez,
really?
To your point, in the sense that not necessarily outstanding in one facet.
But well-rounded.
And solid. But you know what? You add that with discipline, a good lifestyle, a lot of heart, smart corner, and hey, you're going to beat most guys out there. And I was pleasantly surprised and happy to hear that he's a good guy, man of faith, and, and just a good.
Extremely.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
He won't even do beer sponsorships.
Dang.
They had a deal on the table that was going to pay him a significant amount.
Wow.
And all he had to do was put his image to it. And right when the deal was about to get signed, he said, "I can't."
Wow.
They're like, no, Dan, you don't have to drink any. He says, "No, I can't."
It's not heroin.
Yeah, he just said, it's not the message that I want to be a part of.
Look at that.
He says, "I don't want to be that type of influence."
Well, you know what?
mean,
That's you got to admire a guy like that. That at least look at that, especially when it's put. So you know, you got. How can you not like a guy like that and not want to root for him?
Danny Roman in the 7th round was weebling and wobbling, but he did not fall down. And I thought Doan in the 8th round had a window of opportunity where I thought he had to shut it. And once Roman was able to weather that storm from the 9th round on, you want to talk about a Mexican-style body attack. Boy, Danny Roman knows how to operate inside that pocket.
I thought he had it tough in the beginning, too.
He really did.
Because in the beginning, I said, this kid's coming out. He's looking sharp with those little counter punches. I thought his footwork, he was looking crisp, but Roman was determined and was resilient with that pressure in the attack, because I thought, it's going to be a long night for him. But the first 3 rounds, I thought it could have been a very different fight.
Now Roman and Thompson Boxing and everyone involved, they are basically targeting one guy, Tall Ray Vargas, for the WBC title, and that'd be another great fight. My understanding is they're going to try to make that in the fall. Vargas has a mandatory in the summer, and my good friend Alex Campanova at Thompson Boxing says we want that at the Dignity Stub Depot in Carson, California. So clear your calendars, people. And you know what? I also want to give a salute to Humberto Soto. I thought he was giving a younger Jesse Vargas fits. I thought he was laying traps.
Yes.
I thought he might have been winning. But here's the thing. If this is his last fight ever, Humberto Soto's career record will stand at 69, 10-2.
That's old school.
I don't think we'll ever see a fighter from this era fight over 80 times.
No.
Wow, what a career.
That's like a James Toney type
It
of resume right there, or I should say at least record.
Yes.
Wow, and it's tough, especially in those lighter weight classes. He came out very well prepared. I go, look at this guy, and he came out to fight.
Those right hands,
and you could tell how savvy he is and crafty inside. And it was a great fight for Vargas to experience something like that. Who I thought looked good at that weight. He looked sturdy at that weight. Hadn't had a knockout in a long time. Once he straightened out those punches and straightened out that 1-2, he looked very offensive, which is what
I
camp with
Freddie.
Freddie.
Was a little bit quick, but
he didn't dispute it though.
No, and
that's
he's
whenever
also,
you see a fighter not dispute it, then I'm like, okay.
And the referee Thomas Taylor, he probably thinks 38 years old, 81 fights under your belt.
Yeah,
where's this really going?
Exactly.
Better safe than sorry.
Freddie had a hell of a weekend though, with wins with Vargas and with Postal. Just a quick shout out to Vargas in his post interview. What an articulate kid! I think he'd be a great announcer.
Well, he's working for the Zone.
Yeah, no, I know he works for the Zone, but even as a post career, I've never seen a fighter. Or I should say, I haven't in a long time seen a fighter dissect his own fight so well. And he was very articulate, didn't you think?
Yeah, he's very good. And he's going to have a future behind the sticks, as they say, when he hangs them up. Saturday night in Lafayette, Louisiana. Welcome to the Cajun Dome, where the semifinals of the World Boxing Super Series took place. Regis Prograis captures the WBA 140-pound title and advances to the finals by dismantling Kirill Relic in 6 rounds. He now takes on the winner of Josh Taylor, Ivan Baranchek on May 18th. And the Filipino Flash. There is still life in that left hook. He ices late replacement Stephon Young in the 6th round. That left hook is still lethal.
I'll never forget when he knocked out Fernando Montiel.
Left him shivering.
Literally on the ground. And then people quickly after that thought, he could be the next Manny Pacquiao, and he's going to climb all these weight classes. That's how vicious of a knockout. He kind of did,
and that was the problem. Well, he's finally at his natural weight, because when he fought guys like the Axeman, he's not a featherweight.
Well, that's my point. Listen, there's only one Pacquiao, and it's very rare when fighters like that, Henry Armstrong, where you're able to carry the speed, the power, and it translate. That wasn't Donaire. Not to discredit him, because I think he's a hell of a fighter, and in his weight class, he does stuff like this.
Yes.
He's a guy who's been around the scene for a while and is still able to impress with performances like this. And that was as vicious of a knockout as they get. So he's lived to fight yet another day.
Keep this in mind. When he beat Viktor Chinian to burst onto the scene on Showtime, that was 2007.
Wow.
12 years ago. Where does the time go?
For little guys, that's impressive. Like a heavyweight, you can hang out for a long time.
That's like in dog years, 84 years.
Exactly.
It really
exactly.
Is. And
so good for him.
Of the Filipino Flash, this is what he had to say in the wake of his most recent victory, and he looks ahead to the monster from Japan. Nonito, congratulations on the victory. Let's go back a few days. When Zolani Tete dropped out, were you afraid you were going to have a wasted weekend in beautiful Lafayette, Louisiana?
I didn't think of it because I know that they've told me that they've always have a reserve for every fight. So I know that there was a reserve for because when I was in Glasgow, one of the guys was saying that, I'm the reserve, so if anything falls out, I'll be fighting any one of you guys if anything falls out. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And pretty much in this one, they did the same thing. But, it was just more of like, so who's it going to be? You know, if it's not Tete, because I know that these guys have that reserve. So I didn't think that it wasn't going to fall out. But, we did train really hard for the fight.
Mm-hmm. So going ahead to Saturday night, you fight Stephon Young, pretty good, technically sound southpaw. Nonito, when was the last time you landed a left hook that flush?
You know, it's been a while. It's been a while, and I think that the division now is just I don't really have to sit too much on it. And I pretty much do that in a more like a 50-60% of my capacity. I just do it, but I've never have done that in quite some time. So it was refreshing how my power just is very formidable at this weight class.
Yeah, and speaking of which, Nonito, you're at 118. Your body just looks different. Your power seems to be re-energized. Has it shown that maybe the last 8-9 years you were fighting too heavy of a weight?
Definitely, I knew that from the very beginning, that I was fighting a heavier division. But, again, it was something that I chose to do because of the opposition, the names. It was something that was more enticing to me than being champions for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Nonito, May 18th, Inoue takes on Rodriguez, and you've made it clear you'd like to face the monster from Japan. Why is that?
Well, it's just more of, he supported me throughout in his own way of not really, it's like a non-spoken thing, when he's asked about something that he'd like to go, who he thinks that will be in the final, and he always says Nonito Donaire was going to be in the final. He always thought that I was going to be there. So for me, I was just giving it to him that, we have this, because he has the greatest respect for me, I have the greatest respect for him, and I think he's a very amazing fighter, and, and I just give back the support that I was given in that realm of unspoken support, So, but anybody can take the fight, It's just more of for me. That was something that that I kind of supported, because of all the people around him and in Japan wanting this fight to happen.
Mario, though, that's a great story, and I think Donaire scored one of the knockouts of the year. He's already a Hall of Famer. Him getting to the finals is a feather in his cap.
Wow, you already have him in the Hall of Fame.
He's got the check mark next to the box.
Oh,
Absolutely. When you win titles at 12, 15, 18, 22,
when you stop,
and the names.
When you stop and think about it, yes, off the top
Easy.
I was like,
yes.
Oh, no, but then when you stop and think about it, yeah.
But you know what? I know that the World Boxing Super Series has had some issues, but let me just put it to you this way. Josh Taylor-Baranchik is a good fight, and if Taylor should win, Taylor-Prograis, that's a blue-chip matchup.
That's a great fight right there. Ooh.
And then let's say Inoue beats Emmanuel Rodriguez, really good Puerto Rican champion.
Right.
Donaire Inoue is one of those fights that for Inoue to introduce himself to the American public,
it's bad.
It's a big-name fight.
Ooh.
I just wonder, is it good for Donaire at this stage? Oh, boy.
Well, I think economically it might be. So we'll see. I don't know how much longer Donaire wants to be on the scene, so I think he's selective on which fights make the most financial sense. But those are two fights I'd really like to see.
And kudos to Kenny Adams, old-school trainer.
Yes.
That he's made a difference. He has made Donaire into a two-handed fighter, so that right hand is now a threat, and it's improved his left hook. So, yes, trainers matter. Also on Saturday,
Speaking
it
of
was
trainers.
showtime. Cosmo. Wow. Now, Mario, you're lucky. You didn't have time to watch this. I did. Robert Easter and Rances Barthélemy. It's really a shame that someone had to win it, so they called it a draw, which was the right call. Now, I don't want to say this fight was bad, but let me just put it to you this way. One of my favorite sayings. It's the type of fight you let people in for free.
You charge them to
leave. You make a lot of money. And if it was,
What was so bad
That's
about
the one
it?
you're calling barf.
yeah, barf, yeah, because Bartholomew. Well, here's the thing: if this was a movie,
I saw it on Twitter.
if this was a movie, it'd be Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
But that's a cult classic. This
exactly.
wasn't a
It's
classic.
so bad that it's good. And if it was a movie, it'd win a Razzie. I mean, this fight was so bad.
The fight or the card?
The whole card. Look, I like
Wow.
Victor going postal, but let's face it, his highlight reel is very short. He's one of these guys that's much more effective
Then he is
than
entertaining.
exciting.
Right.
And for Robert Easter and Rancis Bartholomew, look, this is where I get into it. People say, this is a sweet science. Hit and not get hit. Right. Can we get a little hitting?
Yeah, exactly.
Hitting matters too.
Right.
I mean, it's like two teams in basketball. They both went to the four corners. Like,
Yeah.
someone do something. I think it's the worst premium cable main event I've ever seen.
That is a bold statement.
And-
You're going out on that limb?
And the best part
Really?
is Twitter, because then everyone becomes like those Muppet.
Did Steven
Statler and Waldorf.
Espinoza answer any of these
Steven
tweets?
was conspicuously quiet on this. He likes to mix it up.
Yeah, no, I know he does. That's what I was asking.
And this one, he was offline.
Okay.
He wasn't saying much. But there was one saving grace. El Jefe Ggg. Look, I don't know if he can fight. He's stiffer than Giant Robot. But call me Johnny Sacco, because I'm riding with this guy. This guy, he hits you and he hurts you.
That's my kind of fighter.
I mean, he has power that is
Yeah.
absolutely unreal. Mario, last Wednesday, big news that I think absolutely shocked the boxing world. It's like Sonny and Cher breaking up. This is like when Hall & Oates called it quits, and the old line from Boomerang, this is worse when the Fat Boys broke up. Gennady Golovkin and Abel Sanchez have split.
You know, this was dominating all the boxing Twitter chats and just social media on the scene for a while. And I was talking to a lot of people about it, and Abel put out a statement saying that it was purely financial.
Well, hold on. Let's
Well,
get
no,
into
no.
that. This
Well-
is what Abel Sanchez had to say.
Hey, you know what? When people get greedy and ungrateful, you sign $100 million contract, and all of a sudden you got to make drastic cuts because you don't have enough money.
So he's saying purely financial, right? Now, when I was speaking with Eric Gomez and Oscar, but both separate conversations about it, he's like, and he goes, Mario, you've seen it dozens of times. A fighter loses a fight, and usually, unfortunately, the first person to go is the trainer. And it's not necessarily like the trainer's doing a bad job, because Gennady, a lot of people thought he won both of those fights, right? But sometimes especially when you've been in the sport for a while, you need a new voice in that corner, or they feel they need a new voice in that corner, a change of scenery. And then there was discussions about, okay, he's an older fighter. Should he really be training in Big Bear?
High
because of
altitude,
the
yeah.
high altitudes are going to have an effect. So I don't know if that had a lot to do with it. And psychologically, maybe that will reinvigorate or provide a little spark that you feel you may need in this time of your life. But the financial thing, let's just take them for what it's worth for a second. Okay. So this is interesting, and this is what I was talking to Oscar about. You start off with a fighter, and the standard is about 10%.
Yes.
Right? All right. And then the 1% of fighters that get to the point when they start making
7 figures.
7 figures. Okay. Now they're making $1-2 million. All right. Now you're talking 100, 200,000. Okay. Fine. Fair. Still, most of them are still pretty loyal. Now, when you start getting into making 15, 20, 30 million, all right. And I asked Oscar, I said, that couldn't, and he goes, bro, I'll think about it. You go into these camps, they're 6 weeks, 8 weeks maybe. So you're talking a month and a half, 2 months. You're working out with them maybe 3 hours a day, really, because the running and all that you do on your own. Is that worth $2-3 million for the trainers? You know what I mean? That's making more than most fighters. Now I know people are saying, but where's the loyalty, or where's the? But I say, hey, look, it's all business at the end of the day. You want loyalty, get a dog. So what I would do is I would say, look, I would set. This is Oscar talking. He goes, I would always up front say, hey, look, I'm making this much now. I know you've been with me, but we're going to negotiate.
There's thresholds.
There's thresholds.
And you get capped.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you win, I didn't know this. It was interesting. He told me,
Yeah.
if you win, I get this. If what, you know what I mean? And all this. And if it ends this way, so it's a set money. Now, granted, those figures are way more than they'd ever make not only with anyone else or any other fight. But then you start, people will argue, but what about the ethics and the loyalty? And I go, I'm kind of conflicted.
Again, in boxing.
No, right. Now listen. Now I think there's a huge difference. If you, to me, if Canelo
who started with them as an amateur.
That's a difference. That's a lot of bit different.
Yes.
It's a lot of bit different. Someone who took you from the cradle, okay,
to the grave,
and nurtured you all the way to where you are in your pedestal. That's different. And Canelo, I know, and Oscar and Eric both told me he's still breaking him off the 10%. I'm like, you know what? That's why I like that kid. It's awesome because that's different. Now, Gennady, who was already an Olympian,
pretty good pedigree to begin with.
Pedigree to good thing, slides in there as an adult, then he's making business decisions, bro.
Yeah.
Then there's not, look, I like Abel too, and it's not that. It's tough, but you see the conflict.
No, look,
do you have a problem with it? Let me ask you that first.
I think it's a gray area. Anyone that makes this
it is
black
great. You understand?
or white issue, I think is being very naive. I've actually talked about this for years. I've talked to trainers. I've talked to fighters. And look, there are certain fighters that are actually siding with Abel. Then there are trainers siding with Gennady. You're right. If I start with you from the first day that you're a 6-year-old kid, that 10% goes a little bit further
of course.
than a guy that if I pick you up at 30-0 as a fighter,
right.
at age 28, and you say, you know what, here's the thing. Most of the work's done. I just need a guy to kind of supervise. I'm going to give you 5%. You're taking that deal.
Of course, dude. Just like Oscar said, he goes,
Right.
dude, I already won an Olympic gold.
Right.
I had already been with. I go, why are you gonna go? And I go, I
Right.
get it.
And I guarantee the next guy that works with Gennady, and my understanding is on Saturday in Las Vegas, he will be at the Canelo fight, or at least the event. They're going to have a little announcement to who the new trainer is.
Ooh.
Okay, I don't know who it is.
Who are you hearing whispers about?
I haven't heard any whispers. I heard Max, the brother, might actually take over. Okay, I'm just saying. So, but again,
laugh from the audience.
But
hey, he really wants to keep that money in the family.
but I guarantee you that trainer, one of the first questions they ask is, will you take X amount? But I do believe there's a psychology at work here. And Abel went through this years ago with Terry Norris. And I've been through this with other trainers, step by step. If you're my fighter, Mario, and in the beginning of your career, you're 0-0, and you're making $1,000, and I get $100. A lot of fighters like $100, great. Because think about it. For that trainer, if you're working 6 weeks, and you're training you're making pennies on the dollar.
Right.
Then you go to 50,000. Let's say you go to a 10-round fighter. Now it's 5,000. Fighters then are like, good, you earned it. But you're right. Once you start getting to $2 million, and that check is the same percentage, but they're 6 figures, trainers have told me, Steve, all of a sudden, these looks on their faces when they're handing over that money, it gets a little bit wary. Now, in defense of Gennady, and that does seem like a cold-blooded move, 2 things here. One side will take Abel, one side will take Golovkin. When Abel Sanchez was about to retire in 2011, and this guy from Kazakhstan walks into his life, Abel was essentially retired. He was going to rent the gym out.
That's interesting.
He told me that now Abel is in demand, and he's got a full stable.
That's
okay?
It. Exactly. So he raised his profile too.
So
Gennady raised Abel's profile too.
And left him with the future.
See? Yeah, you're exact. That's another very important point.
But the other point is,
because you raise their profile.
Exactly. But then let me defend Abel a little bit. The problem, and this is the thing that
do you understand, Nichols? Like the conflict. Like, can you see?
Of course I do.
Is he preparing you for a negotiation? Wait a minute, hold on.
See, Nichols, as we expand
I've been here since the beginning. Yeah. Since cradle.
I know you have. You've been like my the team Canelo right there. But do you understand?
Nichols.
It does, right? It's not
talking about
Chepe Nichols. Anyway,
a lot of money.
Now, so Mario, here's the other thing though.
When you're essentially putting in the same work.
I want to make.
You know what I mean? You're going.
But I want to make this clear. Abel Sanchez was not looking for 20% like that was so brandied about on Twitter. No. What happened was, according to Abel, I've spoken to at length about this.
We both like.
They offered 20% of his previous salary. Now I'm thinking, an 80% cut. That's kind of punitive.
80's deep.
80's deep, man. That cuts deep, bro.
That cuts deep.
Now, here's what Abel Sanchez had to say about looking back at his run with Gennady Golovkin.
Well, I think we accomplished a lot of great things. I think that unfortunately money corrupts, and in this case, money was more important than not only a relationship but a great career, legacy, and history. But I have to go on. I have other kids in my gym that depend on me, and we'll go from here.
So Mario, I'll say one thing about Abel Sanchez. He is not politically correct. He's letting his hands go, and he's going full barrel. You think he's handling this correctly?
You know, I think he's hurt. And
he's pissed off. There's no doubt. He said he lost a son. I was like, wow.
Well, as I said,
Yeah.
he's pissed off, but at the same time, I think he's hurt. I think he really cared for Gennady, and feels maybe a little betrayed. But I also think he needs to sort of remove himself from the situation and look at it from the outside and remember it is a business, and you're talking about a guy who's not only risking his life getting in there, but is at towards the end of his career, where every dollar counts. Who knows what the next one's going to be? And then maybe put things in perspective and say, hey, you know what? I did have one foot out the door. We did have another hell of a run, and you gave me back some life here, and now I'm working with some other fighters and some. Okay, you know what, man? I mean, I agree, but I get it. So, and you know what? I think he'll get there. Not now, because the Band-Aid just got ripped off.
Yeah.
But I think he will come full circle, and he will get there, and he'll look back at this time with a smile on his face. Somebody else who along the Canelo lines too, Pacquiao and Freddie Roach.
Yeah.
He's another one that Pacquiao came here at 112 pounds, whatever, and he's always done right by him. And Freddie has told me, Freddie has made more money as a trainer than the majority of fighters have as a fighter, and that's due to the loyalty.
And they had one fight where they didn't work together.
Only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, whatever, one fight, but the body work, you know what I mean? So it is make a difference if you go from the get.
Mario, you mentioned
Huge
this.
difference.
More than one person, and I remember Victor Conte bringing this up to me before the Jacobs fight. He has been staunch in saying older fighters should not be at high altitude, that it tears up the body, the lean body mass, your sleep patterns. I actually believe that maybe Gennady himself and his team said, you know what? Line from The Godfather, to paraphrase, let's make an offer that he will refuse. Let's get off that mountain. I really want to see physically some new things and coming back down to sea level, how that affects Gennady, because and he's 37 and he's been drug tested, so I think he's clean. So he's going to age naturally, but now without that wear and tear of being 8,000 feet above sea level, I want to see if there is a change. This is a very interesting situation here.
And listen, the situation in Big Bear is for like your young fighters who are easily distracted.
Who need discipline.
This guy's a disciplined guy.
Now he's got 2 kids.
Right.
That's another thing.
No, he's a disciplined guy. He didn't need that. I mean, it's not doing you a disservice, but now at his age it may be.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see. You know, it's one of those situations you like both guys. And, and you
hate to see it.
You hate to see it. But
Mario, the WBA, which I guess had to make the ruling because no one else could, because Jarrell Miller did not have a quote-unquote boxing license in whatever states he was going to fight in. But they have decreed that with them, he's basically suspended for 6 months, post-dated to March 19th.
Wow.
I want to say something
there.
that is not associated a lot with Jarrell Miller. Boy, that's light. I'm being dead serious. Come on. Look, I said 2 years, but 6 months. Here's the problem with 6 months. It's like giving a starting pitcher in baseball a 5-game suspension.
Right.
What are you really missing here? Come on.
If that, to tell you the truth, more like a 3-game suspension. To put it into perspective, T.J. Dillashaw, who got busted for the
2
first
years?
time in UFC,
Wow.
2
That's
years.
real discipline. That's real discipline.
Yeah. So, man, I mean, look, do you want to see it? Even if he comes back now, has it tainted it for you, the fight?
Well, let me be fair to the WBA. They have said to him that, Jarrell, you need to be in a VADA drug testing program year-round, and when you resubmit to be back in our ratings, to, again, be eligible to fight for a title, you have to submit all those drug tests. So it's not like they're just saying 6 months. There are some other qualifiers involved.
If he meets those stipulations, that okay, I guess I wouldn't have a problem with him, but I am shocked.
6 months?
For the light sensing. Ooh, he got like a shoplifting sentence for a murder.
Yes. And to quote LL Cool J, don't call it a comeback. Marcos Maidana is not coming back. I guess he flew back to Argentina.
He was looking light.
No,
he looked pretty thin. No, and he looked like he dropped like at least 50, right?
Mario, if he was any slower, he'd be going backwards.
He was never fast.
But he was slower. Mario, he looked like he was underwater swimming, doing the breaststroke while punching.
But don't tell me it
good.
didn't get you a little excited just the thought of him coming
didn't.
back.
It really didn't.
And seeing with the welterweights just to mix it up, I thought it'd be fun.
For me, to quote Evita, don't cry for me, Argentina. I was not for this comeback. I thought there was too much wear and tear on his body. And I just wonder, what does he do now? Because I understand this comeback was about money.
Oh, man. Well, that's sad. That's sorry to hear.
Yeah, a couple news and notes here. It looks like July 13th or the 20th, it's going to be Manny Pacquiao against Keith Thurman. They're closing in on that fight. And then welterweight unification. Errol Spence, the IBF belt holder, against Sean Porter, who holds the WBC strap. Pretty good fights here on the PBC side of the welterweight street.
Well, we were cheerleading for Pacquiao Thurman. That's something we wanted to see. So.
I'm going to take on Keith one-time Thurman. I'm going to have Freddie Roach. I'm going to have my trainer. It's going to be a good fight on pay-per-view. Okay, yeah, I mean, you know what? And based on what I saw of Pacquiao against Broner and then Thurman getting buzzed by Jose Cito Lopez,
but
I kind of like the Pac-Man.
Yeah, but I think
Am I prisoner of the moment?
I think at the yes, because I think Thurman's going to come back a lot sharper. The rust is going to be a little wore off. But hey, dude, if you underestimate Pac-Man, I think it's gonna backfire on you. He's got to get old at some point though. But I want to see this fight.
Fight preview this week. There's plenty of stuff going on in Las Vegas. Golden Boy Facebook Watch. Yamaguchi, Rock Me Amadeus Falcao takes on Chris Pearson. And then Saturday night, set your DVR. I know you're gonna be in Vegas. From Stockton, California, ESPN and Top Rank have a card featuring Artur Beterbiev and then Jurin Ancajas, and then 18-year-old Gabe Flores, who sold most of these tickets at the Stockton Arena. He will also be on this show. Moving on to the Ask Mario segment of the show from Jay Nava. Mario, could you see yourself doing live boxing commentary one day? I think you'd be good at it, and it would be great to see a Latino on the broadcast team. I think you have done it, haven't you?
I have done it. I've done it a bunch. As a matter of fact, I was going to do some guest commentating this Saturday for the card, but
what happened?
What do you mean?
No, I
you don't like that idea?
No, I like you in the zone.
Yeah,
I was looking forward to it.
No, and I was looking forward to doing it, but I couldn't get cleared with work or not because it was back and forth. I was that close to having to go do the Kentucky Derby for NBC, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know shit about horses, obviously.
Yeah.
but it's a fun event. But fortunately, I'm where I want to be.
You used to do HBO International, right?
Yes,
You've
I did.
done a few
yes,
of
I
those.
did. I've done
at
a
your
lot of
bachelor
those.
party, you literally commentated a fight.
I did. That was the Chavez Sergio Martinez fight. So yes.
Here's one from
And
Mark.
you know what? Nichols was pretty damn good. I gotta say.
I couldn't hear it, but I'm sure you were.
Yeah. Mark S. Still in awe of Estrada's performance last Friday. What would you guys think if he fought Inoue at 118? Look, I think Estrada is one of the best fighters in the world. I'd put him in the top 15-ish. Inoue's in my top 3 or 4 for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think he beats a lot of 22 and eventually 26-pounders. I think Inoue's a little bit too big.
Yeah,
I really do.
And I think when you're splitting hairs with guys that are that talented, it comes down to that.
It's looking like Andy Ruiz, and he has been announced as the official opponent for Anthony Joshua June 1st.
Yes.
Is he possibly a better, more worthy opponent than Miller? He seems a lot faster and has fought better opposition, plus has amateur pedigree. They're same but different. They're kind of same but different, you know?
Look, Ruiz, he's not going to win, all right? Let's just be honest. However, I think he could do a lot for his stock and could really make a splash for himself with a good showing. If he goes in there and is able to rattle off some cool combinations.
Which he will.
Yeah, and he's able to hang around and not get caught on the end of one of those big right hands and even possibly go the distance and maybe have moments, I think his stock will right because he's already it doesn't get harder than this fight. It doesn't get more difficult. This is it. This is the height of the sport for when you're facing Joshua. So if he looks like he can hang or if at least belongs in there, I think he will have more paydays in the future of this magnitude.
And it helps he fought about 2 weeks ago. He's in camp. And look.
Don't say he's in shape, bro. Because
no, it's that old line from Great White Hype. He's in shape. He's round.
Right.
And he is what he is. The issue is Ruiz has quick hands. When I see him on the pads with Manny Robles, I'm like, this guy hits like a light heavyweight or middleweight. Slow feet, though.
Yeah.
And Anthony Joshua has that telephone pole jab.
Right.
And if you cannot switch distances and crowd Anthony Joshua and then back away, you're going to run into that telephone pole the whole night.
I'm rooting for him to have moments.
Yeah, I think he absolutely will. Here's one from David Cushion. If Vladimir Klitschko comes back, platforms and promoters aside, who would you like to see him fight most? Joshua in a rematch, Fury in a rematch, or Wilder? Thanks, guys. Love the show.
I'll take any of those three.
So would I.
First, I'd like Wilder. So I think he beats him.
Interesting.
I really do. I think he beats him. I think he outclasses him. Dude, look, and I like Wilder, and he kind of wins me over his fights, but the skill level is not at the.
Okay, what about punch resistance,
not at the Klitschko.
Though? What about his ability to catch? Wilder can bang, man.
Yeah, I know he can bang.
He's twitchy.
But I think Klitschko keeps him at the end of that jab, and I think he still has that telephone. Joshua
still have to pitch a perfect game though
I don't
against
know
Wilder.
I don't know if it's perfect. Yeah, well, and then I still think he keeps him at the end, and eventually starts catching him with those right hands, those 1-2s. I think this will be too much for Wilder. I really do. And then. I'd like to see a rematch with the other two, but I think he's a live dog in that fight. You don't?
Oh, of course he is. But one thing about Wilder, he can hit the 15-run home run. Just don't ever forget that.
No doubt about that. That's why I do like him. But I think there is a disparity in talent.
Yeah, big drama show. Will the casinos in Asia start putting on super fights? No, I don't believe so. I think there's been an economic downturn a little bit. That's why Aram and the Venetian don't do as many shows or any shows. Also, the time difference. A lot of those fights that we see on Saturday night from Macau happening Sunday morning. So there's some logistical difficulties there. Also, final one. Robert Montano, if Jacobs pulls the small upset, do you see Golovkin fighting Andre this fall, and who wins? Wow, that's an interesting scenario. Let's say Jacobs wins. What does Golovkin do? Andre's a difficult style. Tall, lean, lanky southpaw.
That is a difficult. That is a I don't think we'll see that, but that's a fun question to ponder.
Oh, and Mario, I know you love fantasy fights. Our boy Clee Stevenson with another one. I think you'll like this one.
I love fantasies, period.
Yes, especially on the island. Who would you be your fantasy fight picks? Canelo versus Vargas at 54 and Chavez versus Lomachenko. Wow, you're going with Chavez at that one. At 30 and 35.
Don't just assume
that.
But
you will go with Chavez?
I'm gonna go Canelo over Vargas at 54.
I'll put an asterisk by that. The Vargas before Trinidad, I'd pick Vargas.
Really?
Yeah. People forget how good this kid really was.
Vargas was great. He was Olympian.
But I was a big
fan.
That one night ruined him.
Man, and you know what? The fact that he was
that 12th round.
But the fact that he was able to come back and drop Trinidad himself and work himself back into the fight was very impressive because he got dropped early. I'm going to tell you why I'm going to go with Canelo. Because of his counterpunching and the way he works the body. I think he's busier in there. I think Vargas, because of his huevos, he will stand there and trade with him more, and that would be bad for him.
Right.
Now, you know what I mean? Yeah. You know that he's going to stand there, so I think that'd be bad for him.
It's really a shame that Vargas...
That's what I think. Now, Chavez with Lomachenko, I'll tell you what. I will go Chavez, and I'm going to tell you why.
I'm stunned by that.
No. Chavez was brilliant at cutting off the ring. Okay? And hands don't get faster than Meldrick Taylor. That fool looked like a blur when he was punching.
And that was at 140.
Exactly.
So he could take a punch.
So, dude, he's walking through anything he throws him. And I still think that, and because of the timing and because of the body attack, and how relentless he was, I think Chavez beats everyone there.
Chavez against Edwin Rosario, 1987. I think there's
was
only
that beautiful? Remember when he came out with Mike Tyson? Everybody thought Rosario.
Yeah, because they both had the same manager, Bill Kane. Tyson was actually working the bucket.
Yeah, I saw him in the corner.
That's what a boxing guy, Iron Mike, was. But I will say this:
I love those old fights.
On that particular night, I think only Roberto Duran beats that version of Chavez.
That's a hell of a fight. That's a dream fight that I would love to pick him. I would love to see. He beat the spirit and the machismo out of Rosario. So when you got two proud Latin guys in there, for him to literally beat you down, oof.
Mario, moving on to Final Flurries. You are the Game of Thrones expert. Okay, I know the characters. You actually know the whole story. Did that last episode, did it live up to expectations?
You couldn't see anything.
Whoa, Mario.
Weren't you frustrated? It was so dark.
Wow.
Listen.
It was dark, though.
They built it up.
Dark,
and I'm not talking dark in tone. I'm talking you physically could not see what was going on. And I make my room like a cave.
So do I.
I really couldn't see what was going on. They built it as the most expensive. Well, I don't think it was. It was the most expensive and the longest battle ever filmed, right? And it cost millions of dollars. Well, damn, what good is that if you can't see shit? You couldn't see anything.
So it was like Wrigley Field at night in the 80s.
Dude,
dark.
It was just so...
No games.
So that really bothered me. But as far as the story itself, it was brilliant in that Arya ended up killing the Night King, and then everyone died after that. The dragons were...
That blue dragon was fierce.
Oh,
man,
dude,
he was wrecking things.
Yeah, that zombie dragon, dude. And what's up with Bran? Just chilling. He goes, I'm going to turn into a bird now and fly for no reason.
I thought
I
thought Theon Greyjoy redeemed himself.
He
had
did.
Couple
he told him, he said,
rough seasons, but he came back. He died a hero.
Yeah.
That hero.
Wow. I thought, by the way, the whites in the zone, didn't you think they were kind of moved like in Thriller, a little bit slow? Those two fools were running. They were running. Did you see that ridiculous article that Yahoo put out that why are they killing all the immigrants on did you see that?
Are they politicizing?
They're really
this?
politicized Game of Thrones. You got to watch it.
And they broke down a wall.
That's what I said. Walls don't work because of that. Look at that. Look at Game of Thrones keeps killing off entire immigrant populations, and it's a problem. I'm like, it's a fake show.
Yeah, well,
because it was the Dothraki, which are kind of like the Latinos.
They sent them right into the line.
Right.
You know what my
theory was?
You
know what my theory was on that? So they sent them out first. They were infantry because they were all on horses. And that's why it was so dark, because people would be more pissed about seeing the horses die, which they all did, than they would about the people. Think about it. And then you had the Unsullied, all the brothers.
Yeah.
So you had all like the Latinos and all the brothers. Some people made it. By the way, the whole thing's so stupid because it's a fake show. What about the dragons? Does Peter come out?
Yeah.
With the dragons?
Right. Well, the other thing is, look, if you go back to the invasion of Normandy, the first line always gets smirked. That's what it is. They're the sacrifice bunt, man. They're not going to make it. Like, thanks for your effort, guys.
I know.
But
cold as ice.
See you when I see you.
Yeah.
So what do they do the next 3 episodes then?
Wait, are you kidding me? Now, Cersei, because she was chilling over
she's next. She's
at
next.
King's Landing.
Yeah.
Now the real wars begin. But it's interesting because more than half of the army got decimated. So now you're going with the ragtag. You still got a couple dragons, though. I think that evens things up. And then the ghost made it, the big-ass dog.
Yeah.
So he made it. So you go with your couple dragons and your decimated army, and you head over to King's Landing, and you've got Kingslayer and Tyrion trying to take out the sister.
Yeah.
And remember Theon's
sister.
Yeah,
with the boats.
Right,
the boats.
Exactly. They're all there, and they just went like 20,000 deep. So now you're gonna have a battle that you're gonna see it. You're gonna see during the day, which I'm really excited about.
Sunlight. Yeah,
Are you not happy with the first 2 episodes? They're tying up a lot of loose
I'm
ends.
gonna say something controversial. This is what I do.
Shocker.
I think Billions has been better at its show than Game of Thrones this season.
I love Billions.
And but we'll talk about that next week because you're behind.
I'm one episode behind because unlike you, I've got like kids and shit, so I gotta like do stuff with the family, and I can only do one, and I was Game of Thrones, but I am gonna watch Billions tonight, so I'll have a report for you, completely different, but GOT, come on.
Mario, last Thursday I was honored to be in studio to listen to a great conversation between you and what I call Dos Equis, the most interesting man on Twitter. Listen to Mario, the latest episode with Curtis Schoon.
That's my new podcast. Listen to Mario. Knuckles does that with me as well.
That guy is deep. You know, what an episode.
Right?
That guy's deep, man.
He is deep. It was a good episode, and he's the kind of guy that I love after you have conversations with. You want to continue having a conversation about it with someone else.
Yeah.
And whenever you're speaking with someone who doesn't go, and doesn't stutter a lot, or even he rarely messed up.
Stammer,
and it starts
pause.
Stammer. Right. It was a fascinating guy, and on LTM we've had a couple of conservative folks in there, but now we're going way on the other side. Coming up, we recently spoke with Don Lemon from CNN, and then we've got presidential candidate Julian Castro.
Yeah. This Friday
coming
is
up.
De La Hoya.
See, you are Switzerland.
Oh, that's right.
You
that's
are
right.
neutral.
Yeah.
You are Switzerland Lopez. You are
like
right on the 38th parallel. You're
want-
not going north. You're not going south. You're standing right in between the South Korean.
I don't have an allegiance
neutral.
to any certain
Just
particular
to the flag
party.
of America. That's it, man.
That's exactly it. You know, I look at things case by case. I'm an independent thinker, and
I'll call you
go from there.
50-50 bar, man. And Curtis Schoon in his documentary Black, White, and Blue, pick it up on Amazon. I thought it was thought-provoking. And by the way, that week I had dinner with Curtis Schoon and Jason Whitlock. What a meeting of the minds.
Ooh, I bet.
You should have been there, Mario.
I
Next
know.
time
You
we'll
invited
invite
me.
you.
I
Next
thought you did this last time.
Yeah,
right,
well, you're
bastard.
still invited. Now, with Oscar De La Hoya, I understand that this legendary career almost never happened because of you. What a terrible influence.
Oh, did you? We get into stories.
Tease that, please.
We get into
please.
stories of the monkey wrench when I took him down at Tijuana and partied because I thought he wasn't going to fight. Then he ended up fighting, but what happened and the whole thing was pretty crazy. That's just one story. We could have talked for a long time on other stories, but listen, we're just glad that social media and iPhones weren't around from
those tweets would have been liked and retweeted. Wow,
yeah,
man,
but he's a guest on LTM.
When's that coming out?
This week.
Friday.
As a matter of fact.
Thursday
yeah.
midnight.
Right.
Okay.
We had a little tequila and we were talking and he had a lot of fun.
It was flowing.
Good.
It was flowing.
Yeah, it was flowing.
Mario, I'm seeing on Twitter this big scandal that happened about a year and a half ago. Turns out all these college athletes, you know the narrative, these poor guys, none of them are getting paid. Unpaid. Turns out a lot of them, the good ones, are getting paid under the table a lot of money. So what's the complaint? Honestly, if you're Zion Williamson, take as much money as you can under the table, never rat, and be happy. Go home, go to the NBA. Well, I think that's the real story. A lot of these guys are actually getting compensated.
Well, I don't know if it's a lot. I think a handful.
Oh, six figures. They're getting six figures.
No. I don't mean a lot of money. I don't think it's a lot of guys. I think there's an elite.
But those are the only
select
ones
few.
that really deserve it.
Well, exactly. But it's
That's
the
my
other
view.
It's the other ones that are crying about it. That was my point.
I mean, the lacrosse players,
Yeah,
the swimmers. I hate to
But-
tell you.
No,
Look,
right, but you know what I mean.
but there's a difference. They
They're
don't
messing up everyone
generate
else.
revenue.
No, they don't. I'm not saying
Yeah.
they deserve it. I'm just saying those are the ones that are making the loudest noise.
Right, like if you're going to a Duke bookstore, a Zion Williamson jersey #1, you're buying that. A water polo's shorts, whatever they wear as a uniform, no one buys that.
Water polo shorts.
Yeah,
They wear
Speedo.
Speedos.
Yeah, whatever. Oh
You
yeah,
know you
I
like
was thinking of
Speedos.
lacrosse, Duke lacrosse.
That reminds me, speaking of Speedos, did you see that article I posted the other day about bromances?
Yeah, people were linking me and you together, folks. We don't do that before the show.
This was This was a legit article
Tim,
that came
too
out.
much info there. You didn't have to
It
throw
said
me under
that
the bus like that.
straight men and bromances kiss, cuddle, and stand around naked together. To which I say, where my homies at?
Yeah. Wow. Hey.
See, Kim's speechless because he often, as he's half naked, wants to cuddle.
I
said,
thought-
Come
I
on,
thought we
Kim,
were keeping
get
all
the
of this-
gel out of your wig
You know,
first,
I
bro.
thought we were keeping that a secret. Maury, this is funny. One of my friends in boxing has an AC Slater Funko doll. What's it like? Seriously, what's it like seeing yourself as like an action figure? What's it like?
Well, the head proportion's
here,
about the
folks.
same size.
Right
They
here,
got
folks.
my dome about the same size right there.
They came in and measured your head a couple years ago.
Do you get paid for
Oh,
this?
Nichols over here with a side
Is there a
busted.
licensing deal where you get paid off of every?
No, we don't get shit. I wish we
Whoa,
did.
Whoa, Mario, language. Kids are listening.
I
Jeez.
know. Sorry, forgive
Yeah.
me. Well, you got me, talking about money, so you got me all fired up. I'm pissed now.
Do you at least get a free dozen of these?
I don't get anything, Kim. Let's
What?
move on.
Wow.
I signed. You hear about those boy bands? I got screwed.
So you're
on
with
the
Lou
thing.
Pearlman. You're getting Lou Pearlman.
That's exactly it. We got
Maurice
Lou
Starred.
Pearlman. We got Lou Pearlman, Maurice Starred.
Peter Ingold.
Peter Ingold.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh,
Peter
wow.
Ingold's add him to that group.
One last thing before we go, Nichols, are your Golden State Warriors now focused? Are they ready to play some basketball?
They look like
pretty
it.
good. Pretty
Although,
good.
I wouldn't be surprised if we drop one in Houston, but it's
Oh.
all good.
Yeah. By the way, James Harden, stop bitching and moaning. God, it's getting
James Harden and
great player though, but still. Come on.
Russell Westbrook. When who's the kid from Portland when they made that meme?
Lillard.
That's everywhere.
Dame Lillard.
Dame Lillard. Yes, that meme was great.
Cold as ice.
Cold as ice, but Westbrook. The guy averages a triple double every year, and
means
yet
nothing. He's a stat patter.
that's it. Wow.
And the other thing is, I don't think his game is very efficient. And the other thing is, the way he handles himself, I think, is becoming toxic. And look, I'm a media member, so obviously I'm going to feel a certain way. But athletes have to realize you still have a job to do. And I don't think, you're a public figure. You've done a lot of interviews. If you are going to be so uncooperative, and then when things get a little bit rough, if you're nice to certain people, they'll give you a break. But if you're just a jerk for 3 years, it comes back to you, doesn't it?
You're absolutely right. It pays to be
To be
cool.
nice.
That's why I tell my kids all the time. What are the most important words? They always say, please, and they say, please, thank you, you're welcome, excuse me. Being nice, being polite, and being cool will go a long way because you're exactly right. When the shit hits the fan, pardon me, I'm so foul-mouthed today.
Wow, you're
But-
Tommy Lasorda
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Wow.
But when things go sour,
Mm-hmm.
those same people, because they like you,
Right.
will go a little
A little bit
easy, man.
easier.
You know what I mean?
51-49, yeah.
they'll
Soften it a
they'll
little bit.
soften the blow, and
Yeah.
they'll cheer you on. But he'll be back on. If not, they don't like you.
You become a pariah.
Exactly. So they've got to look big picture. But and it works in the entertainment world
Any world.
as well
Any
as
world.
right. Exactly.
As I take a sip out of our 3 Knockdown Rule mug, which can be found exclusively on 3knockdownrule.com, all your apparel, you will actually be at the fights this weekend. What is your schedule looking like this weekend?
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna shoot my show extra. I'm gonna do the weigh-in that day. Then I gotta go do the pool show, supersize my pool for HGTV. Remember I was telling you about that? We got the pools this year, but hopefully, all the houses this
You're
year.
diving right into that.
But
yeah. Yeah, I couldn't resist.
Greg Louganis diving right.
Who you played, by the way.
So doing a little of that, trying to kill a bunch of birds with one stone.
Okay, and then we're going to talk about the fights next week. I am
That's right.
very, very excited for Canelo Jacobs.
I will see
you this
there.
weekend.
I'm excited too.
Absolutely. All right, so that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule. On behalf of Mario Lopez and Justin Buffalo Knuckles and Smokin' Tim Frazier, this is Steve Kim saying goodbye, everybody.